All right guys, for this project you really don't need a lot of tools. You probably just need a regular socket and an extension for your socket. You need a 10 millimeter, 13 millimeter, 15 millimeter, and a 19 millimeter socket. And I also have a breaker bar which comes in handy, especially taking lug nuts off. So you probably either need a set of channel locks or a bench vise as well, which I'll show you why you need those later in the video. This is a 2013 Ford Focus, and I started getting cupping in my rear tires. Basically it's an uneven wear of the tires, and so I'm pretty sure it's my shocks. These have never been replaced. So I'm gonna replace the shocks and hopefully that helps. I'll have to get 2 new tires as well, but first of all we'll take off the wheel, and that's a 19 millimeter, are the lug nuts. Just a reminder to loosen your lug nuts before you jack your car up. Also, just to be careful, make sure you're always using a jack stand and the jack at least 2 ways to protect your car from falling on you. I always usually put the tire underneath the car as well after I take it off, but yeah, just loosen your lug nuts up, then jack the car up, and then you get these lug nuts off, and otherwise it's a lot harder. So we'll get this tire off and go from there. So here's the rear shock. It attaches up at the top there with 2 bolts, and then there's another bolt around the back side, which is a little more challenging to get to, but not terrible. But it's down there. That's the bolt. Gotta get that one loosened too. And I'll tell you the specs of those bolts here in a second. But all right, so to remove the bolts on the top, I have a 10 millimeter socket on an extension, and that really helps to get up on there, on your part there, and then just break it loose. So we'll loosen those 2 up. I may not take them out all the way until I get this one loosened down here, but so we'll go from there. Next step is to loosen this bolt at the bottom here of the shock, and that is a 15 millimeter bolt. It's going to be tight, so you may have to use a breaker bar, or although it's hard to get a breaker bar down under there and actually get purchased, but the other thing is you could use an impact wrench, but I was able to get that loosened just with my standard socket, but it wasn't easy. There's the 2 bolts that I took out from the top of the shock up there, and then this bolt here is now loose, so we should be able to just take that out and the whole thing will drop down. And we'll get that one and compare it to the new one. Move this bolt all the way because we're going to have to reuse this bolt in the new for the new shock, and then we're going to save this dust shield, and we have to remove this top piece, and we're going to have to take this nut off here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to have to clamp this part, because otherwise it'll spin, but this part will have to be clamped. You can use a channel lock and lock that into place and then undo that nut. I'm going to use a vise here, just my little bench vise here, to lock this into place. So I have the old shock in the bench vise, and we are going to remove this bolt here. This is a 13 millimeter bolt or socket we use for that. Get that out of there. So that'll come right off. And we'll slip that off. Now, let's see if we loosen this up. And you can take this dust shield off. Just slip it right off the top. Sorry. Slip that right off the top because we're going to reuse that as well. Now we're going to compare these two, the old compared to this new one that I just got from Amazon. It was just the Amazon replacement part, and the experts at Amazon say that this is the replacement part, but it's good. It's a good idea to always compare your old and new. Make sure they're the same length generally, and that all the components are the same. Once I release this, this will come out and that'll be probably the same. So we'll check that out and then we'll put it back together. The shield is put on the new shock, and it does come with a new bolt here. Again, it's that 13 millimeter bolt. So we'll tighten that down, and then we'll get it back on the car. Just a nice snug fit. So we have the shock back in position with that dust shield and the old piece up there, connector. Make sure your holes on both sides line up at the top, and then you just put that bolt back in on the bottom, and then just put everything back in together, tighten it up. Guys, well, bolts are tightened up, both that 15 millimeter at the bottom and these 10 millimeters at the top. Dust shield's pushed up all the way, which is where you want it to be. And that's it. This is just a quick video. Pretty simple project. As long as you got the tools for it, pretty straightforward thing. So I think anybody can do this at home on their own. So if you have any questions, leave comments below. Thank you.